Hello. Oop, there we go. Hello. Welcome back to GGobbie, your graphite goblin. Um, I am sorry that I am streaming so late today, and I will be doing kind of a short stream, and I probably look well, I don't look that bad, I guess. Um, I just got back from the St. Paul No Kings rally. Um, I'd heard I was there. I actually got there early. Um, I have pictures. I can't really show them. I don't know. I don't have a good way to show them on stream. um but yeah, the let me throw this stream announcement around a little bit. Wolfheart, and there we go. So today we're just gonna level grind a little bit. We're not actually gonna probably do any story on Bravely Default. I just figured this would be a good chance for me to chat. Now, I don't intend to be a political streamer, but as a person, I am very political. So once in a while, I may feel the urge, like today, to actually talk about that. Um, I'm trying to get more and more involved. I unfortunately, in my 20s and stuff, I just was not plugged in enough. I didn't feel like I knew enough, but I'm getting to that age where I'm like I'm tired of waiting for the adults in the room to get their shit together because they have not gotten their shit together. Um and yeah, I mean, I'll be gaming, I'll be playing Bravely Default and everything, but having just come from a very big, what might be a historical event, I feel the need to talk about it. Um, so No Kings, St. Paul, Minnesota. Um, Big rally. There were some big names there. I don't remember all of the names. I don't remember every celebrity. But some big ones. Jane Fonda was there. Bernie Sanders was there. He gave a very concise and very good speech, I feel. Um, the Tom Morello was there. He didn't actually do anything major, but he did join in on a performance. Um, God, who else? Some local politicians. Keith Ellison is our attorney general. Um, uh, Peggy Flanagan is the what's the title? Lieutenant governor. So she's basically directly under Tim Walz. Tim Walz himself was there. He gave a great speech. Um, Ilan Omar gave a great speech. Um, and yeah, as a Minnesotan, as a lifelong Minnesotan, I've lived here my entire life, like 90. Actually, I will have to quantify that at some point, but like 98% of my life has been spent here. Um, and all of my waking life, when you gain consciousness as a baby or as a toddler. Uh, yeah, so I am a lifelong Minnesotan, and I am by now left as fuck. Um, and damn proud of it. Um, I've been a Bernie supporter since 2015. I'm actually wearing my Bernie shirt, and I know it's kind of off camera, but yeah, it was super cool. There were a lot of people there. The estimates that I was hearing were somewhere around 200,000 people. Um, I got there early. I sort of sort of just jumped in with this family that showed up and went, and they were very welcoming. Shout out to Kim. I won't dox you with your last name or anything, but uh very nice people that happened to live actually somewhat close to me. Again, no doxing. Um but Yeah, we went, we showed up early, we actually got fairly close to the stage and just stayed there. Now, I was only wearing this and a hoodie over it, um, and didn't didn't wear any long underwear or anything, and it was just under freezing when we first got there and, like, slowly crept up to around 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and I was freezing. I mean, I was chilled to the bone the entire time, and, you know, gotta keep myself fresh, food safe and all of that for, you know, when the rich decide to eat us. But, the, yeah, I just, like, found myself dancing in place a whole lot, which is fun. It was a lot of fun. They had music going, they had some musical performances. Um, yeah, just breathtaking looking back at that crowd. So much of this state is very unhappy with the way things are going with, um, Donald Trump, with his administration, with ICE, with all of that. And I've been, I'll make the occasional Epstein joke and whatever, but that's fairly, what's the word, ubiquitous. That's fairly common thing that I don't feel like that really gets too specific into my politics, but I'm very much what they tried to accuse of being a Bernie bro. I myself am gay. You've probably, if you've been watching for a while, you may have seen that I wear gay shirts once in a while, Pride shirts that I bought at Pride. Definitely not hiding that. Um, and yeah, I keep watching every cycle another politician get into, you know, one of the highest offices, whether it's the Senate, the Congress, or the presidency, and either they are a Republican and they are frankly batshit crazy, or they are a Democrat and they are hollow as fuck. And they keep saying that, oh, we can't afford to give you things like universal health care or tuition relief or any sort of progressive change. Um, and I know that even though we are a much larger country than somewhere like Denmark, um, or Sweden, or uh, those the Scandinavian countries that have much better social programs and social um, systems, institutions. Um, sorry, I'm sort of rambling. I hadn't prepared a speech or anything. Sorry. Uh, even though we are a much larger country than Northern Europe and Scandinavia, the math still maths out. I do not accept the excuse that we are too large of a country to implement social programs like universal health care, like tuition free college, um, all of that. And those are just my economic views. I believe strongly about abortion rights, women's right to choose what to do with their bodies. I believe strongly in immigration. I grew up in a very diverse school, at least as a child. When I moved, it was like a much more majority white school. But yeah, my elementary school was pretty diverse. We have actually, we had at the time a big Jewish demographic. Um, and I stand I think even as a kid, I had a lot of solidarity with the Jewish community, even though I wasn't myself, Jewish. I'm also not Christian. And in a Christian dominant country, you kind of need allies. Um, I don't practice any religious faith or anything. I think that's a growing thing, especially among gamers and especially among fantasy gamers. Um, but it was nice uh feeling like I wasn't the only one that was being needlessly judged by the Christian majority. Um, anyway, that's sort of a tangent for another time. Um, but yeah, I believe strongly in immigration. I believe strongly in gay rights. Myself being a gay person, I believe strongly in trans rights because ultimately they're not hurting anyone. And I myself have just a little bit of gender queerness. I don't consider myself trans or non-binary exactly. I identify as male enough that I don't see the need to change that. Um, but I once in a while my gender identity will drift a tiny bit into the feminine, and I think it does that. Uh, I wouldn't call it a dysphoria. I mean, sometimes there's like a disconnect between me and other men. Um, but that's maybe I'm autistic and maybe there's some autogender going on there. Um, but the yeah, I think if anything, it's a bonus to have that to be able to identify with women enough to empathize with women. Even though I myself identify as a man. Um, and I think it's important to be able to empathize with people that are different from you. Um, and we shouldn't be afraid to, you know, let our identity shift a little bit just to get a sense of what it's like to be someone else and put ourselves in someone else's shoes and that sort of thing. Um, I realize that I'm maybe it sounds like I'm conflating empathy with gender identity, but I think it's more that having that little bit of gender shift helps enhance my empathy, if that makes sense. Um, and yeah, I believe in single payer healthcare, tuition free college, women's rights, immigrants' rights. I absolutely do not want an armed occupation of my home. It has been awful. I myself personally have not seen ICE a whole lot, um, but they have screwed with our labor force, which has in turn screwed with our workload, uh, which is the reason that I was put on furlough for about 6 weeks. I am a trim carpenter by trade, and um, I kept hearing that immigrant. I mean, I've my whole career. I've been seeing a lot of immigrants, especially Latino or Hispanic immigrants. Um, Spanish speaking, not a whole lot of English there. And they would be the ones doing the framing, doing the siding, doing the drywall, doing a lot of the exterior stuff. Um, but without them, houses aren't being built. And without houses being built, I can't go in and trim them. And so for the first time in my whole company's in my time with this company, they actually put a bunch of us either in different departments or laid off or on furlough. And it's been very scary because I don't know. Yeah, no, I wasn't sure during that entire time whether or not the work was going to pick up enough or if, I would still have a job by the end of it. Um, Luckily, I had some inheritance to work with. Um, Nobody died recently. It's the sale of a house, but Yeah, the sale of a house went through and everything. No need for condolences, just a whatever. But yeah, luckily I was able to kind of weather the furlough. And in that time I started this channel. So I guess thanks Ice for giving me the time to start my channel. No, that's a terrible thing to say. Um but I have family that live directly in Minneapolis. They were scared and I think still are scared. They themselves are not immigrants, but ICE has proven that they don't care. They see all of us Minnesotans as a threat to, I don't know, white nationalist rule or something, and they will just shoot us. They've shown that with Renee Good. They've shown that with Alex Preddy, and they will make up whatever excuse they can. And then the Trump administration will also make up all sorts of lies to recolor the victims as terrorists. And they're not terrorists. They're trying to protect their neighbors, our neighbors, my neighbors, from further oppression by ICE. The people that enter immigration enforcement are the people that do not see immigrants as human. They don't see immigrants as people. They don't see them as worthy of even having a path to citizenship. And I have not known an immigrant uh, personally that has been, and I've worked with so many immigrants over the years. I've worked retail, I've worked construction, um, and I've never known any of them to be guilty of criminal activity. Now, the one person who did steal from me, and he actually did steal my copy of Bravely Default, as it happens, he was a white dude. So it's not like national or naturalized citizens are themselves, um, or natural born citizens here are uh, innocent of crime. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's frankly ridiculous that they think that immigrants are by default less than or inferior or worthy of oppression or worthy of removing from society, when honestly they do so much to contribute to society. They do so much to help build our homes. As I've just said, they're the ones actually helping build the structures, helping um, cover and insulate and all of that. Um, so if you buy a house that's been built in the past 20 years, it was probably built largely by immigrants. Um, they help us get our food. They help us. Um, they teach us various things that an isolated culture would not know otherwise. Um, and without them, all of all of that aside, even life would just be boring without them. It would be stagnant, and we would start oppressing each other based on more minute differences like eye color, hair color, um, height, weight. I don't know. Um, they would find ways, or maybe we'd start oppressing each other on on ideology, because there've definitely been holy wars within Europe. We actually, as a country, we were fleeing religious oppression and the notion of um well, yeah, just religious oppression. That's what the pilgrims came here for. They didn't want to be um told how to worship Jesus, and they came here uh seeking freedom from a very powerful class. And that too. Like we are as a nation immigrants. The Native Americans were here first. Um, they are being mistreated. There have been Native Americans who've been detained by ICE and some even deported. Um, I it's just ridiculous. We need to we we need this mess to just stop. Um, but beyond that, though, beyond that, we need to start building a better future. We can't strictly let our politics be determined by who the bad guy is. We need to start looking at the problems that we're facing that are deeper, that run deeper than just the big bad that's in the White House. We need to start looking at the economic hardships that are making people crazy. Um the gentrification of neighborhoods is one of them. Uh Healthcare bills are too expensive. Anyway, hopefully you get what I'm saying. If you watch my channel, you probably agree with me already. Um at least agree enough. But yeah, we need to start addressing the problems that are making people look for other people to blame. Um you know, if you have enough food, you don't worry that someone's taking your food, if that makes sense. Um yeah, sorry, I'm trailing off. But anyway, No Kings, it was a big event. It was big, it was exciting, it was fun, it was energizing, it was inspiring. Um I'm sure you can look up any given speech on YouTube. um, yeah, just oh, and I guess the other thing that I want to leave you with is get involved in the primary process and get involved in local government. If you want to make a difference in your immediate surroundings, get involved in your immediate surroundings. I know big government is scary and it feels like you can just do the one vote and then the one good person will be in the presidency and that'll fix everything, but you need to make a difference at the local level, at the state level, all of that. um because for one thing, again, that is where your immediate laws uh are changed. That is where your immediate world can be changed. You know, your families, your neighbors, that kind of thing. Not the whole country, but the people that you actually interact with on a day-to-day basis. And get involved in the primary process because honestly, the Democrats keep banking on the Trump administration being stupid enough and Republicans being stupid enough, Republican politicians being stupid enough and flagrantly corrupt that the Democrats can just put anyone in office and it'll be fine. Now, I can make a fun comparison and also segue into the video game. Sorry that I'm still rambling. Um, there was a time in the 2010s, and it's kind of still ongoing, but it was like really apparent in the 2010s that Square Enix was banking on us buying basically anything as long as it had the Final Fantasy title. Um, and to some extent, they were right, but the quality of games did go down. And I've been in, you know, I've been in Night Sky Prince's chat, and I've been in some other YouTube live chats, and yeah, the general agreement is that Square Enix was arrogant and they got ambitious, they got bold. I think the Fabula Nova Crystallis was an interesting idea, but in the long term, it was not sustainable. It was kind of a mistake. Um, and FF13, what well, FF13, 14, and 15 were all badly mismanaged. And you could argue the same for 16 as well, although 16 I feel like was probably more coherently put together. But Square Enix has this tendency, especially since 13, and especially since the the mistake of using FF7 as a tech demo for the PlayStation 3, they have this tendency to just slap big names onto a project and expect it to do well and expect it to sell well. Um, they will put Tetsuya Nomura's character designs and say, hey, Tetsuya Nomura did character designs for this, and now the characters look cool. Personally, I find Tetsuya Nomura stale at this point. But they did that with Yoshi P with FF16. They did that with Yoko Shimomura with FF15. And a lot of it was them trying to replicate the success of Final Fantasy VII, and they just didn't. And they were so concerned about being in FF7's shadow that they made so many mistakes. And then, what was it? So the other thing with FF15 is that they tried to do the success of Kingdom Hearts at being a cross-platform narrative, where Kingdom Hearts had PS2 games, a GBA game, DS game. Eventually got to. Did it get to PlayStation 3? I think it got to PlayStation 4 with Kingdom Hearts 3. But they went to mobile games and they had a whole bunch of different pieces of the story, and I feel like I'm digressing really hard here. Point being, with FF15, they tried to do that again, but like all at once, and try to be a cross-platform story, rather than manage to fit all of it in the game. And they made some other really dumb decisions that forced FF15 to undergo like extensive rewrites. But the point being that Square Enix felt entitled to our money, to our fandom, to our loyalty, and they were dead wrong. And they've themselves openly apologized each time, but they still don't seem to learn. And I'm worried that Final Fantasy 17 will go through the same the same development hell. But hopefully Yoshi P made a big enough statement that the release window or the release timing for each major installment is too long. Someone who's a child that would play Final Fantasy 16 will probably be an adult by the time they play 17 at the pace that things are coming out. Whereas back in the 90s, they were releasing games every other year, or in the late 90s every year. That was Sakaguchi's goal and Sakaguchi's ambition, and he was very, very good at keeping up with that. Just to like maintain fan interest, you know? But now Square Enix is acting like those of us who were there or who fell in love with those older games not only don't exist, but like we're a problem. And I feel like the Democratic Party is doing the same thing, where they see those of us who want social improvements, who want, economic improvements. They see us as a problem, and they're acting like they're entitled to the presidency or to any given office. And I absolutely saw it with Hillary Clinton. I saw it with Joe Biden. I saw it with Kamala Harris. We definitely saw it with, or we see it currently with Graham Plattner and I think it's Janet Mills that he's running against up in Maine. If you are in Maine, then please do something about that. They're acting like it's Janet Mills's turn. And that was Hillary's whole thing. It was her turn, or we want Kamala Harris because she's a black or mixed race woman. And yes, I would absolutely support a candidate that was female, and mixed race, but not at the expense of good policy. I don't care what they look like, who they are, if they have good policy. And that means policy that works for all of us, including other black or mixed race or non-white, non-male, you know? Like we can't abandon good policy in favor of identity politics. And I know that that's not I know that I know that some people may pretend that's a controversial take, but I want the best for all of you, all of everyone. And if the one to give us universal health care and college tuition happens to be a white Christian, I'll tolerate it, and I will not like it, but I will tolerate it. Um, but it would be good if these um it would be good if it would be better, actually. It'd be preferable if they happen to be uh non-white, non-male, and even non-straight. Um I'm rambling. I feel like, thankfully my channel isn't big enough. I don't expect anyone to clip any of this. I don't feel like I'm really saying anything too scary. Um but it would be it's more important to me to get the economic policies across the finish line than to worry about whether our next president is or is not a man. Um and frankly, like the local candidates that I'm supporting, and I feel like I would dox myself if I gave some of their names. But they are women, and one of them is a woman of color. Peggy Flanagan is running against. Um, Actually, she's running against Angie Craig. So like, that's the other thing too. If identity politics mattered for me, I'd vote for Pete Buttigieg. I'd vote for Angie Craig. I'd vote for all of that. Um, my fellow gays, right? But that again is not enough. Pete Buttigieg is a Democrat lab creature. He is um engineered to sound as much like a good politician as possible, and I'm sure he has a lot of virtues, but he's still towing the party line and also towing the billionaire line. He's not fighting nearly hard enough against the billionaire class, the Epstein class, the people that are oppressing the rest of us, the working class. He's not fighting for us. He is trying to get he's trying to get into the fancy office. He doesn't actually care about us. He wants to be the guy, you know? He doesn't want to be the guy that actually fixes anything. He just wants to be the guy that's in charge. And we don't need any more of that. That is what is screwing this country, apart from, Republicans being ridiculous most of the time. There are a few exceptions. And when I say Republicans, I'm talking about the politicians. I know that the voters are not all crazy. I do have, friends and coworkers that are Republican, and I respect them just fine, apart from their politics. Um, I don't think that they're monsters. I think that the politicians are the monsters, and I wish that my coworkers had better judge of character. And I think that's also another important distinction to make, that if you're mad at Republicans, be mad at the ones that are in power, the ones that are um, leading your neighbors and coworkers astray. Be mad at them. Don't be mad at your neighbors and coworkers. If your neighbors and coworkers are pieces of shit, absolutely be mad at them, but like not strictly because they voted differently. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sort of rambling. No Kings, great, great event, huge event. Again, I think 200,000 people were there. I'm gonna get into the game just for a little bit. And I think, you know, at some point, I do have a friend that is actually much more. Now, I don't intend to ever be a political channel. Um, you might guess at who I listen to as far as political channels go, and I encourage you to just go listen to them because I myself don't have. I mean, I work a full-time job, and I'm also a video game streamer. I don't I don't dedicate nearly enough time to become an educator on politics. Um, I can give rambling overviews like I just did, but I encourage you to get someone who is much more plugged in, much more educated. Um, and at some point, I may make the occasional video or two uh, with a friend of mine who is much more researched and educated on this, and try and go over the. Oh, by the way, I'm playing the game right now. I just loaded it up. LOL. I keep forgetting that OBS doesn't automatically do that when I load the game. But yeah, I wanna try and get into discussing the political relevance of some of the stories in role-playing games. I do intend to be playing mostly role-playing games, and most of them have very heavy anti-fascist rhetoric. And that's not new. That is not new in fiction in general. I know a lot of Republicans, in particular, especially Republican voters, try to say, hey, stop being political. Or they'll see a woman on screen and say, woke. And it's like, no, that's really not new. That's not like a Democrat plot or anything. It's, compassionate people expressing their compassion through their art, through their storytelling. Now, Bravely Default, even though it came out like 4 years before Trump actually became president, it's clear that the writers of this game see where society can go when the wrong people take power. They know what darkness actually looks like when it's applied to the real world. And a lot of what I'm finding in this game is very allegorical to the things that we are going through now, the things that we have gone through in the past. And I think between this and also the Divinity games, and whatever other RPG I end up playing, I think it would be good to have a friend of mine on who is much more plugged in, come on and talk about some of these things, and I'll make a bigger research video edited together, maybe kind of going over what the stories are for him and seeing what insights he can provide based on history. He was a social studies teacher, and yeah, much more educated than I am on these subjects. That's another thing. Defer to people who actually study things. Don't just listen to the guy that rambles because he's yelling loudly enough. Defer to people who have spent their lives getting to know the ins and outs of a thing, like doctors. Like, don't yell at doctors because you think you know better. Yell at doctors because they don't care enough. Which, honestly, it's not necessarily the doctor's fault. It's probably the clinic's fault or the hospital's fault for over-monetizing or something. Ow. You know, I feel like a lot of... I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I feel like a lot of doctors get caregiver burnout. It's tricky, but they wouldn't get into that profession if they weren't themselves very compassionate people. And I think it's important to continue nurturing that. And the more we yell at them, the more caregiver burnout they get. So forgive me for suggesting you yell at them. I take that back. Cura all? Ow. Defaults. Blizzara. Defaults. Cura all. Double Blizzara. Acrobatics Judgment. Bug Slayer. But yeah, like, I think it would be good to more directly address the politics of video game storytelling. And I can't play every game ever, but I can look at the games that I do play, and hopefully provide some insights into like where they're relevant to real world politics, especially American politics, because I'm not really plugged into global politics as much, except in where it might relate to American politics. And for the most part, I don't intend all of my streams to be like this. I know I'm going on kind of a political rant. But no, for the most part, you might get the occasional mention of it from me. I don't want to feel like as a channel I have to hide from the things that I care about. I don't want to shy away from them, and I know that, some people, they don't want to deal with real world stuff. But I think enough of us want to find solidarity with our content creators enough that and I think it's very important to establish early on where you stand on things so that people aren't so that your audience knows what to expect from you and they won't come to you thinking one thing only for you to give them another thing. I mean, I feel like that happens with celebrities a lot. I'm not a celebrity by any means. I'm a very small time creator. I just hit affiliate. Yay! Fault. Double Bug Slayer on that guy. Magic Cura yourself, ring a bell. Yeah, like, oh, geez. He can summon more? This is awkward. defaults. Thievery, Life Thief, the Baltora. Kira, Anyas. Sorry, this got kind of spicy. Ow. Ow. Okay, so the Chomp ability seems to be used to put us down to 1 HP. Nope. Brave, Sword Magic, Rizara, Acrobatics, Crescent Moon, go. Thievery, Life Thief, Baltora, White Magic, Kira, all allies. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm not a celebrity, but I see that happen with celebrities, especially like, you know, someone like J.K. Rowling. I think a lot of her fans were expecting her to be one thing, and then later in life she turned out to be something very different. And I feel like that was really painful for a lot of her fans. And I think it is still somewhat painful. It's sort of like the grief you feel when you have a parent that's mentally ill, but you don't really realize that they're mentally ill until you're an adult. But there's some part of you that thinks, you know, maybe she'll snap out of it, maybe she'll figure it out. And it's just this ongoing frustration of, you know, no improvement. It's very similar to having a parent that's terminally ill, because once in a while they'll show signs of improvement, and you think, hey, maybe they'll pull through. But there's also some part of you that thinks, no, this is probably it. My mom died of cancer about 5 years ago, but before that, she had bipolar disorder. She was very mentally ill. Being awfully candid here. She was very mentally ill. She, I won't get into any stories or anything, but, you know, there were a lot of times, especially when I was like a really little kid, I had no idea. I thought she was just showering me with toys and that sort of thing, and, you know, I later realized that she didn't actually have the money for anything, and she was just showering us with gifts without doing anything to really sustain that. She was a doctor, so she was actually making a lot of money herself. A psychiatrist, actually, so that's part of... It might pop up that I'm fairly clued into mental health, you know, secondhand. I grew up in that environment. It's very normal to me. Even just talking about it out loud is very normal to me compared to most people, so some people find it, like, very weird. Like, oh, you're oversharing, and I'm just like, I'm not. This is... what? Why did I do that? I should have waited. Okay. Hold up, we didn't want a Blizzara, we wanted Fyra. Alright, defaults. Brave. Double Life Thief on the first one. White Magic, Kira, ring a bell. They're kind of evasive. What was I saying? But yeah, you know, even growing up, I thought, you know, once in a while, maybe I can convince her, like, hey, maybe don't do the crazy thing that you keep saying you're going to do. And she would, sometimes she would be really normal, really fun. But after a while, I just sort of gave up and because she would keep, you know, she would keep going back to being really self-destructive and really broadly destructive, really malignant across the whole family. And there is some part of me that does grieve for her. Like, there are parts of her that I miss dearly. This is actually her piano. I grew up with it. She might have bought it before I was born, so this piano might be older than I am. She wanted me to have it when she passed. But, why did I do a Blizzara Blade? What the hell? Let's fire at that. Hunting, double Beast Slayer on the first one. And Kira off. Nice, that one's dead. Anyway, what was I saying? Why did I go this direction? I don't even remember. Sorry, I'm totally blacked out there. Jump. Hunting, Beast Slayer. I'm also very caffeinated. If you can't tell, I'm very chatty. You know, maybe at some point, if I have some of my chattier viewers on, I can have someone to bounce stuff off of. Have more of a conversation rather than a ramble. Oh crap, she doesn't have abilities. Sword Magic Fyra. Defaults, go. I'm just trying to figure out when I shifted into talking about mom. Something about something about the grieving process for. Wait, I can just commerce, pharmacy, ether, idea, black magic, Fyra all, abilities, acrobatics, crescent moon all. I'll probably have to go rest at the guy, or the traveler. Protect, ring a bell, protect, tisk. Anyway, it's been a big political day. Made some nice friends. Saw a lot of people. I think I think that's the most people I've ever seen in one place at one time. And after a while, it like you don't even really feel it anymore because it's just big. You look out and it's just a sea of people, and it's far enough out that like you can't even register it anymore. But yeah, 200,000 from what I was hearing. I'm finding out about that like after the fact because I was in it and I was up front near the stage. White magic. Kira, all. Probably should have just directed that at Anyas. You missed. It's okay. Yay. Did someone level up recently? I wasn't really paying attention. I was kind of rambling that whole time. Black Magic 4. Tiz, you are Valkyrie currently. Oh, you must have leveled up recently. You learned Decimate, which gives you allies and enemies with 10 HP or less. With 10 HP or less. Sorry. Allies and enemies with 10% or less HP remaining will each suffer damage equal to their own remaining HP. Seems pretty awesome, actually. Oh, is there somewhere to rest that doesn't involve paying money? I can't even rest at this guy? Where am I supposed to rest? Uh-oh.
Who goes there? Greetings, brother.
Oh,
Can you let us past?
Corporal Dats, I'm afraid this area's been put under lockdown.
I see. Well, we'll just have to take another route then.
Here we go. I said I wasn't going to do any story, but I need somewhere to stay.
Welcome to Heart's Child, bastion of the Shield Bearers. Make yourselves at home.
Whoa, the heat is incredible. Is this town in danger of being swallowed by the lava too?
If it gets any worse, we may have to think about evacuating. Ever since the fire vestal passed into the light, Mount Karka has been raging without cease.
The women of this town must be made of strong stuff to put up with this. I could see myself falling for a strong woman. You might even say I favor them. This is the place I have been seeking.
Ring a bell.
Here we go again.
You're a funny fellow, Ring-a-Bell. I'm going on ahead to the commander's residence. Once you've seen the town, you should come and join us. It's that building you can see in the middle of town. Catch you later, then.
Okay, party chat. Tragedy. This town is awash with sadness. Oh. It creates nothing. Brings happiness to no man. Oh, something about the war. Creates nothing. Brings happiness to no man. Why do we persist in this madness? War? Yeah, I agree. Because both sides have beliefs they can't let go, I suppose. Something so precious that it warrants the deaths of countless innocent people. The world is faced with a crisis dire as it has ever seen, and this is what we are doing? Humans fight to secure peace as they envision it. The trouble is, everyone's vision is different. I fear I cannot understand it. However lofty the ideals of sword and shield, the fact remains that they are engaged in murder. Wherever people gather, emotions run high, and justice and truth are subjective. Where the majority has reached consensus, it is difficult for any one to persist. It is difficult for any one person to resist. Even so, I don't want to be the sort of person who just accepts all that is given, all that is a given. Me neither. At the very least, I swear I will take no woman for granted. I'll give my all always. And there's the sad, strange ring-a-bell we know and love again. That was actually a very relevant relevant thing. The other thing I have not done is check on Mirende. More special moves. Onion Knight garb has been unlocked. Armor shop is max level. I don't expect to be playing for much longer. I'll probably put everything to about 19 or 15 to 20 hours. I'm not sure. So I will be streaming at my regular time tomorrow. 20. 18. And yeah, sorry that this is a shorter episode, and sorry that so much of it was spent on me rambling about politics and real world affairs, American affairs. But yeah, no kings. As you know, if anyone was really paying attention, they would notice that when I made Tiz's what is it, my friend edit profile, yeah, on my friend profile in Bravely Default, I have put the message as no kings. Now, this could mean King Kamer of Ansheim, or it could mean some real-world politician that wants to be a king. Either way, I guess, you know, maybe I can end the stream here. Are we back to full health? Yeah. So I'm going to save the game at the person. We have the Rocky style music, training montage music. But yeah, I guess, you know, if I'm kind of capstoning this stream here, no kings. Get ice the hell out of Minnesota and out of our airports too while we're at it. We don't want war with Iran. I was raised atheist, and I have no interest in there being any sort of holy war. I think that is a ridiculous motive to go to war. No racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia. I should have gone with that first. I'm gay. Or just generally, you know, if I'm missing one, forgive me, but just generally no dehumanizing language. And yeah, that does include my straight white friends. Because what I want is a world that allows all of us to be free. And by free, I mean I want everyone to be able to love who they love. If you are not hurting anyone, then you have no problem from me. And you don't necessarily have to know at all times whether or not what you're saying is hurtful. But if someone tells you you've made a mistake, just apologize. It's easy. It's free. And, you know, learn from the experience. And I think you'll find, and this is more a message to my straight white friends who might be more prone to social missteps. I think you'll find that those of us who have compassion are more capable of forgiveness than you give us credit for. We're not going to scream at you if we get, you know, if you make a if you make a joke in poor taste, or if you know, misgender someone. If it's a clear mistake, if it's clear that you're doing something maliciously, that's when we'll start screaming at you. But no, generally we just want everyone to love each other and be nice to each other, and we don't want to fight all the time. I'm tired of all the fighting. I'm tired of all the conflict. I'm tired of the religious basis for a lot of it, and a lot of the other ridiculous roots for these conflicts. Religion, racism, homophobia, that kind of thing. Like, we don't need to keep hurting each other. And instead we should be helping each other. We should be doing everything we can to lift each other up and make this world better, not worse. And I think that we will find that our differences can teach us many things about ourselves. Our diversity is our strength. What was the Wellstone quote? If we do better, we do... No. It's something like, if we do better... No, we do better if we do better, something like that. Let me check. I'm Minnesotan, I should know this. We all do better when we all do better. That's it. I was just hearing it, like, it was quoted a couple times today, so I figured I'd bring it up. Paul Wellstone was killed in a plane accident. There was suspected sabotage there because he was, frankly, very progressive, and it threatened a lot of people. So there was concern that he was murdered. But anyway, he had a lot of great quotes, and one of the best ones is, we all do better when we all do better. So again, love each other, lift each other up, don't bring each other down, don't be afraid of each other. Be safe, obviously, but don't, you know, you don't need to preemptively start hurting people because you think that they might hurt you. It looks like there's an ad break about to start. I think I'm just going to end stream here. But thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all of that good stuff. See you tomorrow. Have a good night. GGobbie out.